Imagine an ocean so quiet you could hear a whale singing from 1,000 miles away. This was the reality under the Arctic sea ice for millennia. But in just 7 years, underwater noise in parts of the Arctic Ocean have doubled due to increased shipping traffic. Climate change is melting the Arctic's icy shield, opening up a once pristine acoustic world to a barrage of human-generated noise. The result? A cascade of devastating impacts for marine mammals, fish, invertebrates, and seabirds. Let's explore how scientists are tackling this growing issue. And make sure you stick around to the end of the video to learn how you can play a part in protecting marine life from ocean noise.
The Arctic is one of the quietest places on Earth, a peaceful soundtrack to the rhythms of daily life. And beneath the frigid waters, a vibrant ecosystem filled with life. Belugas, narwhal, seals, walrus, all communicating through complex vocalizations. But more recently, there's been a change.
The Arctic is warming nearly 4 times faster than the global average, causing sea ice to rapidly recede. Less ice means more ships and more underwater noise. A recent Arctic Council report found that between 2013 and 2019, underwater noise levels doubled in some areas. Shipping traffic is the main culprit, and the distance traveled by ships in the Arctic Polar Code are skyrocketing from 6.1 million nautical miles in 2013 to 12.9 million in 2019. And before we keep going, it would be amazing if you considered liking the video and subscribing to the channel if you want to learn more about meaningful environmental stories every week. We are trying to hit 1,000 subscribers and build a community of people who are making an impact in their local area. But let's get back to learning about the impact of ocean noise. Many Arctic marine mammals such as whales, dolphins, and seals and narwhal rely heavily on sound for communication, navigation, foraging, and avoiding predators. The intense low-frequency noise generated by ships can mask these animals' vocalizations, making it difficult for them to locate mates, find food, and navigate their habitat. This noise pollution can lead to chronic stress, which weakens their immune system and reduces their reproductive success. The impact on endangered species, such as the narwhal, is particularly concerning, as 97% of the narwhal critical habitat overlap with current shipping routes. Narwhals are constantly exposed to harmful noise levels. This exposure can drive them away from essential feeding grounds, lead to reduced body condition, and decreased survival rates.
We used to see with bigger marine wildlife like narwhals, they'd be passing through for a few hours, thousands and thousands of them. But since there has been constant ships passing through practically all summer long, we don't see narwhals anymore.
Furthermore, the effect of noise pollution extends beyond marine mammals. Fish and invertebrates are vital parts of the Arctic food web, and they can also suffer the impacts of underwater noise. Increased noise levels can alter their behavior, damage their hearing, and even cause mortality in some cases. Disruptions to these lower trophic levels can have cascading effects throughout the entire ecosystem. So what's actually being done to stop this impact? So to tackle the growing problem of underwater noise pollution, scientists are turning to cutting-edge acoustic monitoring techniques. By deploying networks of underwater microphones called hydrophones, researchers can listen in on the underwater soundscape in real time, capturing everything from the haunting songs of bowhead whales to the deafening roar of passing ships.
To better understand the impacts of sound in the ocean, researchers use a device called a hydrophone.
A hydrophone is basically an underwater microphone in that it takes sound that we can then take and analyze and figure out, well, what happened in the acoustic environment during that time.
It offers us the possibility of leaving an hydrophone recording for an entire year and really get an understanding on what the environment sounds like, and that translates to what environment looks like.
In the Inuvialuit Settlement Region, or the ISR, of the Western Canadian Arctic, organizations like the Wildlife Conservation Society of Canada are working hand in hand with Indigenous communities, government agencies like the Department of Fisheries and Oceans, and industry partners to document baseline underwater sound levels.
Both science and Indigenous knowledge contribute to a more informed decision pathway for development projects and marine protection. There's a good example around Baffinland Mine. Community members have provided Indigenous knowledge about the behavior, locations, health, and abundance of marine mammals, historical perspectives, and migration patterns. And that's how sometimes Indigenous knowledge can contribute to decision making when it comes to big issues like this that affect communities.
By tracking how these sound levels change with human activities like shipping, seismic surveys, and industrial construction, researchers can assess the impact on vulnerable species. Beluga and bowhead whales, ringed and bearded seals, and even Arctic cod are all crucial components of traditional ISR food systems and are at risk from this sonic assault. So using advanced modeling techniques, scientists can map out the noise footprints and recommend strategies to minimize wildlife impact, such as rerouting shipping corridors away from critical habitats, establishing marine protected areas, and implementing speed restrictions in sensitive zones.
We're finding that some Arctic species like beluga and narwhal are reacting at incredible distances to ship noise, and they're changing their behavior. They're moving away from it, they're speeding up their swim speed. When they get closer to the ship, they're changing their diving behavior. They're spending less time doing deep foraging dives, and instead they're staying close to the surface, traveling with very shallow dives very quickly, getting away from that ship.
But acoustic monitoring isn't just about measuring noise levels. It's also an invaluable tool for tracking the behavior and movements of marine mammals themselves. By identifying and locating whale vocalizations, researchers can map out critical habitats, migration routes, and feeding grounds. And by comparing this data with the shipping records and noise measurements, they can start to unravel how these underwater noises are altering the behavior of these important animals.
With increasing shipping in the Arctic, there's been growing concern of the potential impact. Because sound is so important for marine mammal, we want to make sure that we protect quiet environment so that marine mammal can communicate with each other, they have space to find their prey using sound, and they have space to navigate their environment using sound. And for that, we need to understand what are the current level of sound and also understand the threshold of sound that are tolerable for marine mammals.
But we can't just study the problem, we need action. So Canada's ocean noise strategy is now open for public comment until October 22nd. This is our chance to demand meaningful change. And if you are seeing this after October 22nd, that doesn't mean it's too late to learn about ocean noise and the policies that are protecting the important wildlife in the Arctic Ocean and oceans around Canada. So the strategy must set quantitative targets for noise reduction, especially in the Arctic. We need mandatory speed limits for ships, noise output limits, and expanded protected areas. In 2022, a voluntary slowdown trial in key habitats saw ship participation hit 93% and noise levels drop by 50%. Imagine what a mandatory policy could do.
Voluntary guidelines like the NOTMAR are good for small vessels, for larger ships. Those are the ones that haven't really been adjusting their behavior yet. And those are the ones that these voluntary guidelines might not be sufficient for.
We also need the strategy to fast-track quieter ship designs and prioritize Indigenous voices in ocean management. With your input, we can ensure Canada's ocean noise strategy is more than just a muffled promise, but that it sets a global standard for safeguarding the serenity beneath the ocean waters. Through cutting-edge tools like real-time acoustic monitoring and bold noise reduction policies, we can help restore the Arctic's natural underwater orchestra. The Ocean Noise Strategy public comment period ends October 22nd of 2024. Join us in demanding Canada chart a course toward a quieter, more pristine Arctic before it's too late. Check out the description below where you can find a link to Canada's Ocean Noise Strategy draft. And I'll see you all in the next video.
If it's keep going the way it is with no changes, hunters will be impacted food-wise and culturally, and younger generation will lose out on traditional knowledge.
We can't do everything alone. We don't have the expertise in everything that we do, but partnerships are the way forward to be effective, to make good, sound, solid regulations and policies.